Hello and welcome back. We're now going to have a short Agora session which is called The Missing Link, Teaching for Green Transformation. And here we're going to explore how to prepare teachers and educators for training tomorrow's citizens. And I'm delighted to bring you this event that's brought by the International Task Force on Teachers for Education 2030, the VVOB, Education for Development, Education International and UNESCO UNIVOC. There hasn't been sufficient attention to ensuring that technical and vocational teachers and training are ready to reskill young people for green and decent work. Given the huge impact that these educators can make on student learning, this is a missing link that the world cannot afford. So this debate is going to look at how we prepare teachers and trainers. They'll be in the forefront of our conversation, particularly the vocational and the technical teachers. And these are the ones who are at the centre of skilling the workforce and the citizens for the future. Let me now invite our first speakers. I have a question for Maud SEGHERS from VVOB. What are the competencies that teachers need to develop in order to achieve a socially and economically just and green transformation? Maud.
TAMSIN, for setting the scene and for putting teachers at center stage. As a member of the International Task Force on Teachers for Education 2030, VVOB could not agree more. So what are these competences that teachers, and particularly TVET teachers, need to develop in order to sustain our world for present and future generations? And to answer that question, the main point to keep in mind is the fact that teachers are and will be working in highly uncertain times. Teachers need the competence to prepare learners with knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary for jobs that don't exist yet. And they need the competence to prepare learners as citizens to look at the world through the lens of sustainability, justice, fairness, and equity in order to address societal and environmental challenges that don't have solutions yet. Those are the teachers that all learners have a right to. And as the content of education is changing, and indeed it must change, teachers need to acquire pedagogical practices that instill valuable capabilities such as curiosity, critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, as well as develop learners' knowledge and technical skills for tenacious and real-world problem solving. And all over the world, we see teachers who are capable of this change. In Ecuador, for example, teachers in secondary technical education use project-based learning to connect students with community-based sustainable tourism initiatives. Students and communities work together in restorative agriculture and conservation, hospitality and tourism packaging. If you're looking for your next destination after a year at home, then check out Boca Valdivia. For these kinds of collaborations to happen, teachers need an inquisitive mindset. They need to examine their own professional practices and become lifelong learners themselves. But to do this, they need competency for sure, but I would also argue they need autonomy and support as well. And on that note, I'll hand the floor back to you, TAMSIN.
Thank you. Let me now ask a question to SATU HAPAANEN, the City Councillor and Chair of the Education and Culture Board of the City of Oulu in Finland. How can local authorities help drive the green skills agenda, and what support can they give to the TVET institutions and teachers in their area?
TAMSIN, I think that SATU was not able to connect.
Okay, well then let's move on then. BORHENE CHAKRUN, the International Task Force for Teachers for Education 2030 and the UNESCO Director of the Division of Policies of Lifelong Learning. So here's my question. How does teacher and trainer professional development need to evolve? What are the enabling conditions that need to be put in place to support teachers for enacting this transformation?
Well, thank you so much, and good afternoon to all colleagues who are joining this session. I would like, first of all, to echo a bit what my colleague Maud just said, is that it's important that we prepare the teachers for a world that is evolving and is uncertain. Not only for jobs that we don't know, but also for problems that we still not able to anticipate. And one of the problems we have faced is the COVID during the last 2 years. But before I come to explaining what will be the enabling dimension, I think it's important, first of all, to acknowledge and recognize that TVET teachers are diverse. There isn't only one category of teachers. We have teachers in the schools, in technical and vocational education and training schools, but we have also trainers in companies. We have tutors. We have, in some cases, instructors. So that diversity of the teaching staff has to be recognized and valued. And the enabling environment, the investment, the capacity development has to take these broader understanding of the teaching profession. Having said that, obviously, one of the critical dimension is how we will bring all this content, these skills that Maud just mentioned earlier, into the curriculum. How we'll bring that in the teaching and learning processes, in the pedagogies, in the assessment and certifications. And obviously, we know that the quality of the teachers is a determinant of the quality of the learning and the learning outcomes. So preparing teachers professionally and ensuring that they are offered different opportunities for learning and for engaging in lifelong learning perspective is a very important policy measure, and it's a very important enabling factor. Now, having said that, I think we can learn also from the crisis, and we have seen during the crisis that teachers can be innovators, they can be creators, they can cope with the challenges, not alone. They collaborate, they engage in peer learning, they engage in community of practices. And UNESCO, for example, through the Teacher Task Force and through other initiatives, we have been leveraging these community of practices. The Teacher Task Force has launched a knowledge platform where we can collect, and there are resources that are available to teachers. We have engaged in work with the OECD on mapping teachers' effective practices. But what is important is that teachers engage in a community of practices and learning. And to create an enabling environment, the schools, education systems have to recognize this learning. That is not formal professional development, but some of it is non-formal and informal. Recognizing it, valuing it, and potentially offering more incentives for teachers to engage in these community of practices. So I would like to insist that the professional development can be, of course, a formal learning opportunities, but it can be also a non-formal and a peer learning opportunities. Now, to bring back to the discussion regarding the green economy, the blue economy, we know that part of the investment that we need to do is to prepare learners to this uncertainty, to a mindset growth, to capabilities to engage with their peers, to engage in societies, in communities, to develop new skills that are not necessarily job specific, but they are about opening and being reflective citizens, being critical mindset. And teachers themselves have to be prepared for that. Over to you, Tamsin.
Thank you. It sounds like quite a revolution in the way that we think about teachers and we also assess their performance. And if in the past we've assessed the performance and impact of teachers in the grades and results of the exams of their students, what you're talking about is more collaborative problem solving. It means we need to completely adjust the incentives in the system and the performance markers for teachers. Maud, do you want to address a little bit of that? We've got less than a minute to go, but is there something you'd like to add on how we add value to teachers and address their performance?
I would definitely want to also concur with the points made by BORHENE and the importance of professional learning communities for teachers. And there are actually countries, Ecuador is one of them, but South Africa comes to mind as well, that already value this kind of learning among teachers, and they use it as a sort of credit system that teachers are in, and that helps them advance in their along the career ladder for educators in their country. So these even informal ways of learning can be validated by ministries of education. There are ministries who are doing it. and who I would say stimulate the kind of learning among teachers that need to happen and really validate the skills that come out of it.
Thank you. We've come to the end of our time, but this short exchange was really interesting. And the one message I would take from it is that you are never too young or too old to stop learning. If we have a growth mindset, we can truly transform the world. So thank you for joining us, and let's close this Agora session.